Hello everyone, hope you're having a fantastic day. If you are a senior level executive seeking a new challenge, today we're going to take a different approach to what it takes to secure an opportunity. Instead of the usual tips and tricks, I want to examine what it takes to grow a business and why leaders fail to achieve that growth. So first we're going to take a look at 4 different ways to grow an organization. Number 1, there is growth from within. Through ongoing sales and marketing strategies of your existing line of products, you can probably grow at a modest rate of maybe 5 to 10% a year. This is very common practice for many traditional companies. But if you are looking for more accelerated growth, you want to look at adding new products and new services that might not even be within your same marketing niche or target market. The third way to drive accelerated growth is from alliances and partnerships. And finally, the fourth way is through mergers and acquisitions. Now, the last two, alliances and partnerships and mergers and acquisitions, is the most aggressive way to grow a business exponentially. If you don't want that traditional 10% growth a year, but you want 100% or more growth on an annual basis, you need to look at those options. Now let's take a look at why leaders fail to achieve growth in those 4 areas that we just discussed. Number 1, they do not know how to execute a strategy to achieve their objectives. So in many cases this is just a reticence, or in many cases it's a lack of knowledge, but they don't know how to pull the trigger to make something happen. Now, number 2 is they are trapped in a comfort zone. They fail to have the vision to recognize emerging trends and opportunities. In some cases, and this is very relevant, they are blind to the opportunity or they ignore the opportunity. In either case, it is a major reason why particularly old-line traditional companies fail to achieve accelerated growth or take advantage of new opportunities. Let's look at one little simple example. Okay, there are several companies like ZoomInfo, Info USA, Hoover's, Dun & Bradstreet, which have outstanding track records of success. They are well-respected businesses. They have done well throughout their storied history for, in many cases, decades. But along comes a new upstart company called LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn was just founded a few years ago, and in a very short period of time, they have been able to almost surpass all of those traditional old-line companies. Now, it is my contention that companies like ZoomInfo, Hoover's, Dun & Bradstreet, and Info USA should have had the vision to see an opportunity like LinkedIn. All of those companies had the databases, they had the resources to those people, they had an infrastructure in place, but they did not see the opportunities, or they ignored the opportunity. And then LinkedIn now has almost 200 million members. ZoomInfo, after over a decade in business, they were founded I think in the year 2000, now has about 50 million. ZoomInfo failed to see the opportunity that was laid out before them. When LinkedIn was just a very small emerging company, they did not see the potential that was there. Okay. Now, the third reason that leaders fail is they are encumbered by procedures, policies, rules, and regulations. They become a bureaucracy. Instead of a visionary company, they are trapped in the box. Here's a quick story about one company that I'm familiar with. They actually have a alliance manager and who is also responsible for partnerships and for programs. and they have such extraordinarily stringent procedures in place, they fail to see the opportunities that lie before them. If you are not Bank of America, they don't want to have you as a partner. They can't recognize smaller, emerging organizations with opportunities that are perfectly, ideally suited to their situation. Tragically, those kind of companies are doomed to have a traditional pattern of growth from within rather than the opportunity to grow through extraordinary new products, services, and critical alliances and partnerships. Often that failure comes not from the person who's manager of the department, but rather from the leader of the organization who doesn't allow the creativity to flourish. Another reason for failure is companies avoid risk. They might recognize the opportunity, but they just find they can't pull the trigger. A nice little story from history I like to share with everybody is General Grant versus General McClellan. General McClellan was a great little organizer. Systems, procedures, plans, processes. He was really recognized for his ability to put in place a war machine. But he found he could never pull the trigger. It finally took a General Grant to point the troops in one direction and say, go. And if you don't have that ability to point the troops in a particular direction and go, then you suffer from that failure of risk avoidance. And finally is the failure to leverage the resources you have at hand. You might have the financial resources, you might have the human resources, you might have the infrastructure, but if you don't leverage those things effectively for new opportunities, then you cannot grow at accelerated growth. My story about ZoomInfo and Hoover's and Dun & Bradstreet are a classic example of organizations that had the infrastructure but failed to seize the opportunity to grow like LinkedIn. So if you're an executive looking for a job, you need to demonstrate leadership and overcome all of those failure scenarios. You want to establish your value proposition based on your ability to drive success of an organization. You want to establish how did you innovate, how did you execute, and define those for the companies that you are looking to go to work for. So I hope this has been of some benefit to you today. We would enjoy working with you. If you should ever have need for someone to help drive your search for a new executive position, we would enjoy the opportunity to talk with you. Take care, have a great day. Look forward to talking with you soon.